will learn about ES6 let and const. So to get started, we can create index.html file. Here we can create a boilerplate code. Now let's also create script.js, or we can create let underscore const.js, and we can just log it something from let just for now, so we can see it's getting executed. So in index.html, now we can include that script tag /let_const.js. Now to open this file in browser, you can install the live server extension, VS Code extension. You can see this is the extension you can install, and once it's installed, you can just right click on the file and select open with live server. So you can see this is it's open, so you can see the from let getting displayed. So that means the file is working correct. So now we can start with let. So for before ES6, there was only one way of declaring variable using var keyword. So let's say I have var username or to Mike. So there were some issues with var. So you can redeclare the same variable. So I can recreate same variable again, and I can assign a different value also, a different data type also. That is also possible. So that was an issue. So if you have a large file and you by mistake you might be redeclaring that to the same variable without knowing that you already have that variable, or you have multiple script tags. So you have, let's say, profile.js, you have some login.js. So if there are multiple script tags, each will have its own var variable. So each will have a variable with the same name, and you might override that variable. So to avoid this, we can use, there is an introduction of let and const. So if you see, I have these variable, I am redeclaring var variable, and you can see 30 is getting displayed. So there is no issue with var keyword. But instead of var, if I now try to declare a variable with let, if I declare, you can see we get error, identifier username has already been declared. So you cannot have two variables declared with the same name in the same block. So where we have already declared a variable, so you cannot redeclare. So I can comment this out. You can see let username, and now there is no error. So we can print it to the console now. You can see Jerry is printed. So you can declare a variable instead of var, always use let, and when you declare a variable with let, you cannot redeclare it. So I cannot say let username equal to Mike again. So you can see you immediately get error, cannot redeclare block scope variable username. You can see here also you get that error. So you cannot redeclare the same variable again when using let keyword, but you can assign a new value. So this is valid. So because you are not creating, you are not declaring a variable username, now here you are just assigning a new value. So now with this you will get Mike printed in the console. So this is valid, and this is not an issue, but you cannot use the redeclare it with the let keyword. So that is the first thing you need to remember. Now let's say I have a variable let is logged in. I will make it true, and here I am adding a condition. If is logged in, then I will declare a variable. So let's say number equal to 10. Oh, this should be curly bracket. So when I declare number equal 10, and let me print it to the console. You can see 10 is getting printed without any issue. So this is one block. So this is one block, and I cannot, again, as I said, cannot redeclare the same variable again, but I can assign a new value. So here I can assign a new value. So you will see first 10 printed and then 30 printed. So this is allowed. So if you see, as I said, you cannot have same variable redeclared using let in a particular block. But if something is already declared above, you can have in the another block. So you have this another block. So to create a block, you can just open and close curly bracket. So this variable I have declared above, and I can declare it inside also. That is valid, that is not an issue, because this is in entirely different block. So you can redeclare the variable which is already declared above globally in the different block. So I can print it. So instead of true, let me make it false, and you can print it here. So you can see false is getting printed, and here if I print this value, you will see true is getting printed here and it's false here. So these are different blocks, so you can declare a variable with the same name in different block. So I can create another block by just opening curly bracket. So I can again redeclare the same variable with different value. Now you will see true printed here. You can see false and then true, true, false, true. So this is true, this is false, and this is again true. So you can redeclare the same variable with same name in different block. That is allowed, but you cannot have same variable in the same block declared twice. That is not allowed. This is thing you need to remember. Now the next thing is, you might have seen whenever we use loop, so let's say for loop, where I equal to 0, I less than 10, I plus plus, and I can print value of I here, and you will see it's working. So we get 0 to 9 getting printed in the console. That is working. But the issue with var is that it is not block scope. So var variable has only function level scope. It does not have block level scope. So even though I have declared var here, I can still access the value of I outside. So if I declare, you can see value 10 is printed. So because this I plus plus gets executed, 10 is less than 10, so it will come out of this for loop and this will print the value of I. So even though I have declared I inside, I am still able to access it outside. So that is the issue, another issue. So you have same variable declared, you might change that value. So I can change equal to 50, and if I print, you will see 50 printed here. You can see. So with var there is a no block level scope, and var has only function level scope. So that is another thing you need to remember. So but with when I declare it, instead of var I use let keyword. That is not allowed. So now with let, this will become a block scope variable. I will become a block scope variable, and you will not be able to access it outside. So you will get an error. You can see I is not defined. This is on line number 31. So here we are getting this error because this is now inside this block and it's not accessible outside. So you cannot access it outside. So that is a good thing. So you can declare multiple for loops and without overriding the previous value. So I can have another for loop which uh, so instead of 10, you might have numbers array, numbers dot length, and here it might be names dot length. So you can reuse the same I variable multiple times without affecting the previous one. So this is only available for this block and this is only available for this block. So that's what advantage of using a let based variable. Let me bring this back so you will not have any error. It's working. So the another thing is, let's say I have function display, and inside this I declare a variable let is logged in again equal to false. and let me print this. Is logged in display. Now you can see is logged in is getting printed as false. So this is fine. So now I can, as I said, I cannot redeclare it in the same block. That is not allowed. You will get an error. Identifier is logged in has already been declared. And now you can see this is logged in. I already have in the above scope, so I am still able to access it inside. So I can redeclare it inside. So this is logged in is not same as this above is logged in. Both are different. So when you don't assign this value, you will not get that previous value. So this is logged in. Here it's true, and here inside it's different. So when you print this is logged in, it will not print true. You can see it's undefined because this is a separate is logged in variable. There is no connection with this logged in and this logged in. Both are different. So you don't have to assign a value when you declare a let based variable, but you can assign a value. So usually you can assign a value if you want, or if you are calculating that value later, then it's fine. You can reassign a different value later, so that is also fine. So you don't have to assign a value if it's a let variable. That is also valid. So this is all about let. So if you see let variable when I declare, so let's see var. So with var, previously with var, when I declare it as inside the function, it becomes a local variable because var has function level scope. Var does not have block level scope. So when I declare this is logged in inside, you will see that true is getting printed, and I can access this outside also. Outside I cannot access this outside. So when I try to access this is logged in outside, it will print the value which is outside. So let me comment out all of these things. So as you can see, var I have declared inside the function, and I am trying to access this is logged in outside. So what happens? You get error is logged in is not defined on line number 37. Because when you declare a variable with var keyword in a function, that variable will become scope to that particular function. It does not become global variable. As we saw here with the for loop, when you declare with var, you can access it outside also. But when you declare a var variable inside function, that cannot be accessed outside. That is local to that particular function. But I can remove that var keyword. So that was with our previous ES5 version. So now when I don't assign var keyword for a variable, it will become a global variable, and now I will be able to access that. Is logged in is not defined. This was I think previously. Yeah. So here we are getting error because before calling we are accessing. So that's why it's giving error. But after calling, if I move this, so when I call this function, then is logged in variable gets created. It will become in global scope. And now this will be available. So you can see there is no error. So is logged in is true and outside is also true. So this is logged in, here value is true, and when I try to print it outside, you get the correct value of true. You can see the previous one I have commented out. So it always prints this variable. So this is now become a global variable when you don't declare it with any keyword. But that is not good. Always declare any variable with let or const. Don't use var anymore. So let's say I have this variable declared, and I also have this variable declared here outside. So you can see is logged in is outside also. So and here I am calling true. So this is logged in value will override this value. So this is outside block and which is already available. So this will override. So now if I make it false, you will see false printed. You can see is logged in inside is false and outside is also false. So this will override the previous value. If I declare it let, this will become a block to that particular function, and it's not accessible outside. Right now it is accessible because this variable is already declared outside. So when I don't have that, I will comment that out. Now is logged in is only inside this function, and outside it's not available. So you will get an error. Is logged in is not defined on this line. So this is all about let. So whenever you declare a variable, always use let variable, let keyword. Don't use where. Where has these issues, as I mentioned. You can, it's not a block level scope, and you can redeclare the same variable again with different value without knowing that. So that is an issue. So always use, whenever you declare a variable, always use let keyword. So this is all about let. Now we'll learn about const. So there is a const keyword. So const works exactly same as let in a block level scope. So both has block level scope. So let's say I have const value equal to 10. So this variable I have declared. I can have another variable. So let's say const URL equal to, right here I have these two variables declared. So when you declare a variable with const keyword, you have to assign a value. You cannot have any variable declared as const keyword without any value. You can see const declaration must be initialized. So const means it's a constant. So these are primitive types. So this has a single value. So you cannot have a primitive type without any value. You have to assign a value here. So this is all about const. So you, when you declare const, it works similar to let. So you cannot redeclare it again. Const also does not allow redeclaring in the same block, but I can declare it in another block. So this is valid. So if I move this here and print the value here, is logged in is not defined because we need to comment this out. So you can see 10 is getting printed here. So this 10 inside value, if I make it 15, and let me print outside also, you can see initially it's 10 and then it's become 15. So we are not changing this old original value. We are recreating a new variable with name value. When you create a declare a variable as a const, you have to assign a value and you cannot reassign a new value. So this is now declared as constant, so I cannot assign value equal to 50 again. This is not valid, so you will get error. You can see assignment to constant variable on line 44. So once you declare any variable with const keyword, you cannot assign a new value to it. It's now constant and you cannot change that. So that's the meaning of this const keyword when you are using primitive type. So I can have boolean also. Is logged in again is equal to again true. So I am able to declare is logged in true because I have commented this out. So I already have is logged in. You can see now we are getting error. Cannot redeclare block scope variable is logged in. So we are declaring this outside, so they are in the same block. So you cannot have two variables with let and const. So same name with different keyword let and const. That is not allowed. You can have only one variable, either let or const. So once you declare a variable, you can have that value, any value, but you have to assign a value to it. You cannot make it without any value. So that is, these are all primitive types, string, number or boolean. Reference types, let's say I have an array equal to 10, 20, 30. And now when I declare that array, when we say const, it means constant, then do array dot push, and I can push 50. And if I print array, you can see 10, 30, 50 is getting printed. So initially 10, 30, then 50 is good. So even though it's a constant, it does not mean you cannot change that. You cannot change the reference only. So array is a reference which stores this particular array, that we cannot change, but you can change the value stored here. So I can also change the values here. So let's say array of 1. So instead of 30, now I want to assign it 90. I can do that. So now it will have 10, then this will be 90, and then 50. So if I do this, you can see 10, 90, and 50. So initially this is array, then we are pushing 50, so it become 10, 30, 50, and then we are changing the first position to 90. So it will become 10, 90, and 50. So that's what we get when you do this thing. So by declaring a constant array, it does not mean we cannot change. By constant means we cannot change the reference it has assigned to. So we can change the value stored that is. So here now I can also change the length. So when we change length of array and make it 0, that array will become empty. So if I print this, you can see initially it contains this array, now it's empty. So when you set length to 0, all the elements of that array will be removed. All the elements will be removed. So it's an easy way to remove all the elements from that array. You can also do array equal to empty if you want to remove all the elements, but this does not work because this is a constant array. So when you declare array as constant, you cannot change the reference. So that's why this is not allowed. You can see this is not allowed. But you can do make length equal to 0. That is same as removing all the elements of that array, and it works. There is no error. This is about array constant. Now what about object? So let's say I have user object, name Mike. So this is the user object I have. I can print that user object. You can see it's printed. Now this is also reference type. So array and objects are reference type. So by declaring constant, it does not mean that you cannot change that. You cannot change the reference. So I cannot say user equal to name Jerry. That is not allowed because I am changing the reference the user is assigned. So this reference I am changing. So you will get error. Assignment to constant. That is not allowed. But I can change the value stored in that particular object. This is a common mistake usually developers make. When you make constant, it does not mean that you cannot change when it's an array or object. Only with primitive types, so number, string, or boolean. Here these are primitive types, so it stores a single value. So you cannot change that. So I cannot say is logged in equal to false. That is not allowed because I'm changing the reference. So whatever value it's stored, that I'm changing, which is not allowed. But this is allowed. So I can do now user dot name equal to Jerry, and I can print this. You can see name Jerry is printed. So initially it's Mike and then it becomes Jerry. So I can change, I can also add new property. So let's say salary. I can add that and that salary will be added. So even though it's a constant, I cannot change that. I can change the value stored this in that particular array. So that is another thing you need to remember. So whenever you declare a variable, never use var, always use let and const. And this also has the same block level scope. So I can create another block, and here I can again declare same user. So I can take this and reuse here. So if I print inside user and I print, you can see this is outside user and inside user has a name of Mike. So this is the user that we create. So we can redeclare the same variable which is outside because this is another block, and by creating adding curly bracket, we create another block. So we can redeclare the same variable which is already declared, but you cannot redeclare in the same scope. That is an error. Same block you cannot declare. So that is an error. I also cannot reassign a new value because this is a constant now. So you will get an error assignment to constant. But you can change the value stored in this. So name, as I said, we can change name equal to Alex, and this works. Here you can see name Alex is printed. So whenever you declare a variable, always use let or const, never use var, and always start with const. So always declare a variable as const, and later if you feel that you want to change that value assigned to it, make it let. So I have this sum variable. Let's say I have some variable. I am saying sum equal to 0. Now let's say I have numbers array 10, 20, 30. So this is the numbers array I want to sum that. So for always use let whenever you want to change. So I am changing here less than numbers dot length I plus plus. So I want to increment that. So that's why it's let is required here. It's not const because I am changing I plus plus. So making it incrementing that. Now I can do sum plus equal to numbers of I. So I am changing the value of sum. So this is same as sum equal to sum plus num. So if I print this, right now you will get an error. So if you check assignment to constant variable, because sum is a constant. So later if you feel that you wanted to change that, then make it let. So when you make it let, you can assign a new value. You cannot redeclare that, but you can assign a new value. So this works. So you can see 60 is printed, which is sum of these three numbers. So once you have a number, sum declare using let, you can assign any value to it. This is valid. But when you declare it const, you cannot change that. So always start with const. If you feel that you need to change it to uh, you need to change that value, then make it let. So whenever you are using for loop, you want to use a variable, always make it let, because you will be changing that variable. So I plus plus we are doing, so it will be changed. So whenever you think something will not change, never change, make it const. But so that's it about this video.